Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is Matthew Parks, and this is Talkin Nerdy, where the sarcasm is compiled cleanly. I'd like to ask everybody to buckle up as we go through this technical digital underground battleground that we're going to talk about this week. So the first things that we're going to go through are the AI Thunderdome that's happening right now, where there's a big cat fight, if you will. You have the Acqui-Hiring madness. There's password vaults that are starting to shift their focus, and then there is the on-prem service debacle or server debacle that's happening because servers expire like 10-year-old milk. But let's get into it. So, first segment here is AI Thunderdome. That is the talent tug of war that's happening among all of the tech giants. So, if you imagine an AI arena, but something not as cool as swords, just GPUs, something not as cool as shields, just a GitHub repository, and that is what we have now. Is that they're fighting with essentially computer parts in the gladiator field. Yeah, not a good picture, not in my head anyway. So when we talk about this, big tech has been swinging for the fences at each other, throwing pure haymakers. Google, Meta, Microsoft have all been throwing blows at each other by stealing each other's talent in the AI space, and it is getting to the knife fight stage. So in the last 6 months, Google or Microsoft has poached 24 DeepMind employees. It's crazy right now. They poached the former VP of Google's Gemini project. He is now the corporate VP of AI. His name is Umar Subramanya. Hey, I said it. And he is excited because he feels that this atmosphere will give him less ego, meaning the company has less ego but high ambition. It translate for you is that he has to do less pitch decks and that he's able to focus on more breakthroughs. That's what every researcher would want to do. So, one other thing here is that I don't know if you guys listen to music, but there's a 20th century philosopher by the name of Future. And at the end of a track that pretty much set ablaze the career of Drake with the whole debacle that turned out to be the Drake versus Kendrick Lamar, Mike Tyson fighting a baby thing that went on for a minute. He said that he entered the club and he made it rain for 3 hours. I don't know if you know what that means or the magnitude of what he just said, but apparently Mark Zuckerberg over at Meta said, "Hold my beer." And he has been giving out a bounty to anyone and everyone who is anyone in the AI space. 9-figure MBA salaries to these folks to come and join Meta so that they can leapfrog everybody else in the AI space. Bananas. Bananas. So when we talk about the latest GAT that he has gotten is a guy named Laszlo Bach. He is not the same guy when I heard the name from the classic Val Kilmer movie Real Genius, one of my all-time favorite movies, by the way. That was Laszlo Holyfield, for those of you who are going to name check me on that. But he was with Google for 10 years. He started in 2006, left in 16, and then he started several startups. And now he has been poached, not poached. He's actually working for Meta in this case. He told told Business Insider that this rationale is basically going to be a big return on the investment for Meta. The former Google VP of HR says that she agrees, or that they agree, that poaching AI superstars for $100 million is a bargain for Meta, and it's actually cheaper than the whole Acquihiring trend that's starting to happen. So we'll see how companies are starting to get their AI talent. Is starting to vary, but in any case, this is a big trend that's starting to happen. You're now starting to see Microsoft did the same thing recently, where they poached one of the top AI folks with a huge salary. But being that they're innovators in the Acqui-Hiring space, they're still continuing that trend. So along the Acqui-Hiring phase, let's talk about how this is where Microsoft has been stacking brains. Google now has pulled the ninja move on OpenAI. Case in point, there's a company called Windsurf, and they were a coding focus, AI startup out there. And what they do is something similar to GitHub Copilot, where they help provide AI guidance, wink, to coders so that they can improve their code or they can check their code or whatever. This is something that Google did not have in its workspace portfolio. So acquiring this type of company gives them a big up in the competition with Microsoft and with AWS. So moving forward here, the reason that I'm bringing this up as far as our Acqui-Hire is that, and not just an Acqui-Hire, but this was somebody knocking somebody else's girl. So the backstory is that Windsurf was in talks with OpenAI to be purchased by them for $3 billion. But Windsurf did not want Microsoft to have access to their IP. But with the big check that Microsoft continues to write over to OpenAI, part of that agreement is that they have first right of refusal on IP and the ability to incorporate it into their AI product, Copilot. So while they were hemming and hawing about this type of thing, I guess Google had the better cologne. They snuck over and talked to Windsurf while they were taking a break, if you will, from the talks with OpenAI, and they walked away with the girl, if you will. They walked away with Windsurf only spending, and I say only, $2.4 billion, which is less than $3 billion according to my high school mathematics. And because they don't have the impediment of Microsoft's interference, although they are a company of equal size and influence, so I don't really know how it wasn't a problem here. But digressing, they were able to pull a Biggie Smalls One More Chance, sneak up from behind and snatch the girl type of thing. So while Google showed up with perfect timing to sniff out that they were going to be able to make this deal happen, OpenAI is just on the dance floor by themselves, looking at that empty glass of Remy Martin, thinking about what could have been and how they need to step up their game. This is kind of troubling because as Sam Altman watches Google take the entire party back to the crib, they lost a pretty decent acquisition that could give them a foothold and something of more independence away from Microsoft with that GitHub dependency. So this is something that's going to be a story to watch. The reason that I bring this up and the reason I'm talking about this in this whole aspect is that Acquihiring is going crazy. It is the hottest thing out there. It is hotter than a California wildfire. Oh, that may be too soon for that, but famously, Microsoft kind of innovated in the space. I can't say that they invented it, so I don't have enough documentation to add credibility to that claim, but I know they were the first ones to do it in a big way when they started to do this. But it's a clever workaround that was made famous by Microsoft, and it is a way to, it is a practice or a form of regulatory avoidance. Because instead of having to face the legal scrutiny of your merger and acquisition through the federal government, if you just come in and hire the person and everyone who works at the company for a large sum of money, that isn't something that's regulated. So it's completely legal, though sneaky. And for a small fee, you can acquire a company by hiring them, hence the term Acqui-Hiring. There is no antitrust law that girds against this. So I don't know if this is going to be something that is going to be looked at in the future. I can pretty much say that under the current administration's neo-laissez-faire type of attitude and the U.S. Congress sharing a similar attitude or alignment with the current White House administration on this, this is something that is probably or has at least started to proliferate into other fields. We'll talk a little bit about that in the bonus, but it for a fact will not, or at least for the immediate, unless there's some other outcome, won't be discouraged from happening. So while we're talking about Microsoft, let's talk about one of their products that they have sunset a feature in. So being a heavy evangelist and user of Microsoft Authenticator and many in my family, they said goodbye to the passwords features. So in case you're wondering, Microsoft Authenticator is a product of a field of products that I recommend and called password vaults or password managers. So with Microsoft in this realm, because Microsoft has been pushing, they've been a leader for a very long time in going to a passwordless login world. There have been a lot of laggards out there because of a lot of legacy companies and legacy equipment not wanting to move as fast as the rest of the market. Others have joined on, where Google and Facebook, or Meta, I keep calling them Facebook, Meta, even Twitter, have all tried to steer people toward that passwordless world. Microsoft has taken another big step in that way, is that they are going to eat their own dog food, which they're famous for. And in their own authenticator, they will no longer serve as an autofill for you if you use that password vault. So what does that mean? That means that when you go to a website or if you go to log into a program, the autofill feature recognizes by looking at your screen that you're trying to log in. It looks to see what you're trying to log into, and it automatically, hella conveniently, provides you with the login and password so that you don't have to remember it. They are going to get rid of that feature in Authenticator. So you will have to find a new password vault to do that autofill feature. There are others out there. You have one password is one of the more popular ones. In addition to that one, you have Bitwarden, which is also very popular, and a new one on the block, which is pretty popular, relatively new, I should say. One that I actually chose is a Proton Pass, which is part of the Proton suite. So that's the direction that I went into. So if your passwords aren't going to go away, at least not for now with Microsoft. I think you have until August to clear your passwords out. So I do commend them, although I do critique the fact that they did it, but I do commend them for giving a lot of runway on this. They started talking about this 2 months ago, and B, giving you staggered alternatives. So now the password autofill doesn't work. And so eventually, I believe in August, your passwords will go away in that feature. So what do you do in the meantime, especially now that that's not working? So the first thing you want to do is sync your passwords inside of Authenticator. Log into Authenticator, go to the settings, sync your passwords. This will push your passwords up into the cloud, into your Edge browser in most cases, which has its own password repository. Once you do that, you have a choice. You could just make Edge, if the hardware that you're using or the software that you're using will allow you to use Edge as your autofill for passwords. You can set Edge as your password filler and you could be done, and you don't need to listen to anything else I have to say. Now, this is coupled with the fact that Microsoft is also changing their Microsoft Wallet feature inside of Edge, where those features of storing passwords and other personal information are going to be filtered directly into the browser. There will no longer be that separation or segmented piece called Wallet. So buyer beware there. So if you decide that you want to do this, then you can absolutely just leave it there. But if you would like to use 1Password or Bitwarden or Proton Pass or any of the other password vaults out there, what you do now is go into your Edge browser, go into your settings, and then you should find somewhere in your security where your passwords are. You can export your passwords to a CSV file. Once you export them into a CSV file, now, I will say that there may be password vaults out there, but I haven't seen one that will do a direct sync with Edge. I haven't seen it, but it may be possible. But in any case, once you have that CSV file, you can simply import those passwords or login information into your new password vault. The last step that I want to make sure that you do, if you've done this, if you decide that this is what you want to do, is delete and clear your recycle bin, that CSV file. do not keep it stored, or else you have all your passwords and logins in the clear. So that is something, yes, that's why this handoff is kind of messy. You want to make sure that you fulfill that last step of deleting that CSV file from your computer and then purge your recycle bin, right? So that's the advice on that if you decide to do this. One other thing I do want to mention is that Microsoft Authenticators are not going away completely. You can still use it for your MFA needs, your multi-factor authentication needs. It will function for that. So you're not completely out in the cold, but just as a reminder, big tech loves to provide features for free, and then they love to sunset them without so much as a heads up. Again, in this case, Microsoft did give us a heads up. They gave us plenty of runway, and they've given us a staggered approach before they start to purge that feature completely. But Google, Microsoft, et al. Have all provided us with all of these free things, or even some paid instances, and they're not alone. But big tech loves to do this and then pull the rug from under us on that. So I just wanted to make sure I give you some options there as well. So just stay ready, back your stuff up, stay nimble on this, and keep an eye on it. While Microsoft is the feature here, looks like it's going to be all Microsoft news today. Microsoft, there's a SharePoint on-prem meltdown that has completely taken the cybersecurity space by storm, at least the news outlets. So this was a surprise to me because I did not know that in the year of our Lord 2025 that companies were still using on-premise versions, iterations of SharePoint to support their organizations. It completely blew my mind when I saw this. But if you are one of those people who are still using a legacy version of Microsoft SharePoint on premise, meaning that you have a server in a data warehouse, or in a data center or in a closet somewhere that is retains all of this information, you need to pay attention. So there is a critical 0-day vulnerability that has been exploited, confirmed exploited in the wild. It's not just a bug, it is a full-blown breach buffet. It has caused some problems with some organizations, and so it needs your full attention if, again, you're using the on-prem version of SharePoint. So attackers have used a chain of flaws that are out there. There are 3 big CVEs. I will put them in the notes. I'm not going to say all of the numbers and letters here, but they allow a person who exploits these to have unauthenticated remote access. So that means that they don't even have to log in. They don't even need the keys to the door. They just walk right in your front door and take all of your stuff. So just make sure that you have patch. Microsoft has provided a patch for this. The patch has not fully mitigated this issue, but it has resolved some. They are working to continue to do this because of the magnitude of it. Now, the biggest patch that I will tell you, my recommendation is that you find a way to get the coin to migrate your instance to the cloud. There you go. But Microsoft has also confirmed that, as I mentioned earlier, that several Chinese state-sponsored APTs have exploited this exploit. Linen Typhoon, Volt Typhoon, and Storm 2603 are behind 400 plus attacks where they have dropped a web shell that is a custom tool for this particular exploit called spinstall0.aspx, and it steals the cryptographical keys and it lets them craft legit looking payloads to execute. So it makes it tougher for you if you're looking to try to filter them out through some type of malware software or something. So it will let them hijack your server just like it's a small fridge. They can reach in there and grab the administrative rights and everything else out of it at any point they want to. So what do we talk about with this? Well, there's another point that I want to make sure that I bring this up is that, again, this only affects on-prem SharePoint. If you are running SharePoint in the cloud, SharePoint online through Microsoft 365, this is not affecting you. So I want to make clear, to my former organization, we were in the cloud with our SharePoint, so this would not affect them. But The kicker is that there are tons of government, legal, and financial institutions that still have all of this technological debt that they're carrying, and they run these legacy setups, and it makes them vulnerable time after time after time to these types of attack. So what does that mean in a big way? So another example of where this is a problem is and again, this sounds really scary, but the National Nuclear Security Administration has been exploited with this particular fact. This particular 0-day vulnerability through Microsoft's SharePoint on-prem server has been exploited, confirmed to have been exploited with the National Nuclear Security Administration. So, in fairness, because they run legacy systems, they were also taken down almost completely by the SolarWinds attack. So again, same argument. Try to find the funding. This is justification for this. I don't know how you find cybersecurity insurance if you're running these legacy things, but you need to insulate your data, particularly government data and services, by modernizing them away from legacy technologies that are susceptible to these types of vulnerabilities. The end. So it is a big deal. So things you can do is you can rotate your ASP.NET machine keys. That will kind of help you. You can enable your AMSI into full mode. You can restart your IIS server. So if something is running, it'll have to restart. You can maybe catch it there, deploy some type of defender for endpoints or something, Cisco AMP, or maybe, there are others out there. And even if you can't patch, which you should have a valid patch strategy in our 2025. But if you don't patch, which may solve a lot of this, then disconnect that server from the internet. Seriously, it's that simple. That server is a liability at this point. You should disconnect it. You should try to separate it, air gap it, so that it cannot, number one, be accessed by those who may own it, but also by spreading itself onto other servers. So that's that. This is not just a technical hiccup. This is a serious wake-up call. Legacy systems are soft targets. Threat actors know this, and they're moving fast. They move faster in some cases than the patch cycles that we have in place. Stay alert, get patched, and maybe start working on your cloud migration. Stop putting it off. There. Soapbox done. Next thing. Acquihiring is bigger than AI. So I talked about this earlier, how companies are starting to do this. The thing about Acquihiring is that it is effective and it is legal. So not only has it shown success in AI, and in big tech in general, gaming studios, even biotech labs are starting to do this. Some of the AI startups who are hoping to get gobbled up by the big firms, they are starting to Acqui-Hire. It is a legal way to acquire a lot of talent and IP very quickly. So this is what is happening right now. This is the corporate version of Pokemon, where everybody's trying to find Bulbasaur. And that's what's happening, is everybody's going out and gobbling up everybody else's team, not just their IP, not just their technology. So there's that. So here we are. This is the end of the episode. I thank everybody if you stayed on this long and that you didn't find this to be like an old modem trying to connect in your ear with the sounds and such. Digital talent and passwords. One thing's clear is that the future isn't built in silence, it's built in coded in the competition. So, let's talk about this moving forward. Drop something in the comments if you so desire to reach out to me about other topics you'd like us to cover. Please please subscribe, please share. And again, I encourage you to hit me in the comments if you have any other discussions you'd like to say. So keep it nerdy, everybody. I'll talk at you later.